Sky Squad, we are back in the building, baby. Happy Sunday morning, okay? Happy Sunday after premiere episode of what looks to be season 5 of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Now, here's the thing. I thought that this was initially called season 4B, right? But when I looked on my YouTube TV last night as it was recording, and then as I went to the own website, it actually says season 5, episode 1. Okay. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting that they're calling it the 5th season versus what was initially season 4B. So that is a little bit confusing to me. So let me know if anybody else noticed that besides me. I mean, I get making it a whole new season, but I guess my thought is we didn't get a reunion after season 4A. I felt like we could have used a reunion after that season, and now we get a reunion. Now we won't get anything but a 2-part reunion after this one. If anybody needed 3 parts to a reunion, it might be Love and Marriage Huntsville, but I mean, because so much has gone on over the past year by the time we get to the reunion. But I also am here for an edited reunion that doesn't give us any fluff. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't, a 3-part reunion and then part 2 usually be like full of fluff. You know what I'm saying? And so usually we could have just ended up with 2 parts. So I'm not going to complain, but I just happened to notice this. Okay. I thought it was just a bit weird as well. Okay. So that's the first thing I wanted to bring to you guys' attention. The second thing is also, if you are in the chatterization, let us know where you're watching from and let us know what you would rate this episode. So every time we review a show on this channel, we do a rating of the episode on a scale of 1 to 10 for those of you guys who are new here. So for me, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this episode an 8.5. Okay. Now, I feel like I give it an 8.5 because it was good, but to be quite honest with you, and I know what I'm about to say is going to sound crazy, but the drama beforehand was better than the drama on the show last night. Okay. And that ain't even the best screenshot to use. Let me see if I can pull up the screenshot from last night. Okay. This drama last night was better to me than the drama that was on the show, to be quite honest. Between all of them trying to get onto live last night with Carlos King, with Melody and Letitia having each other blocked, and them going live on Melody's page and Melody just saying, well, oh, well, I guess we got to continue to move forward because I got to go hit these streets of New York. We thought to ourselves over here on the channel, how can we make Letitia a part of the conversation? And so I said, we're going to zoom her in. I don't know. To me, that drama trumped the drama on the show last night. And maybe it's because so much of it focused on the Whitlows. You know, here's the thing. She said the streets. She said she's about to hit those New York streets because she's in Fashion Week this weekend. Side note, I'm trying to be at New York Fashion Week in the spring because I just, I'm a fashion guy in my head, right? But anyway, the Whitlows to me, Dorothy, no, that's not what we're saying. We need to see fussing and fighting every episode. It's like, dang, y'all, like, don't read more into something that we are saying on the channel before we even like that. That's just not how I understand that may be how a lot of people think, but that's not how we think over here. Sometimes we're looking for something in the episode that is just so popping that you can't help but give it a 10. It ain't got to be fussing and fighting. It can be a very intense scene between two people. It can be a hilarious moment with Wanda talking about people buying shoes that come out of a box. It's little things that can make an episode pop, even down to the editing that does not contain fussing and fighting. That ain't all we about over here. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to get past all of that. You know what I'm saying? We got to get past all that. I think it's again that this episode focused so heavily on the Whitlows. And for me, you know, that's the problem, Kelly. They're not transparent, but they think that they are, okay? And they are equally as self-righteous. They are. That Dr. Francis called out every single thing that I had been thinking about the Whitlows, that apparently the cast has been thinking about the Whitlows. And for me, it's kind of like they're just not that interesting in comparison to the original couples and maybe even the Stormies or the Destinies of the show. You know what I'm saying? It's just something about them that just don't hit in the same way. And maybe it is because they're not as transparent as they should be. But sometimes their stories just don't align. For an instance, here is what doesn't make sense to me. Tiffany is claiming to be like a workaholic. Those are not her words, but they're mine. My interpretation of her is that she is working all the time, right? You're working all the time. Your husband is also making complaints about not getting enough intimate time with you, whether that's in the bed or out of the bed. So you, who is the workaholic, now also want to be a new mom again. So you want to have a baby, but the very act that would allow you to have a baby, which would be more intimate time with your husband, you're not willing to give, okay? And you are always talking about how much you're going to be working. So your words don't align with your actions to me, okay? And so for me, I just kind of feel like it doesn't make sense. And then when it is brought up, you know, Lewis is so busy defending her at all costs that it's really to the detriment of his own argument, which last season kept being that he don't get enough intimate time with his wife. So Dr. Francis was right, bro. You are allowing her excuses to dictate what happens in the relationship, and then you want to complain about it to the guys, but when it's time to actually talk about it in front of everybody, you go into being Dr. Philosophy, okay? Who, because you have read 20 books on philosophy, now you are Dr. Philosophy and you know everything, and you're not willing to give straight up, real, in your face answers. Thus, we, the audience, have a hard time connecting with you as well as your castmates. Okay. So that really could have summed up the episode right there, to be quite honest with you. But we're gonna get down into the nitty-gritty of what exactly happened. All right. We start off with a recap of the invitation to the retreat, narrated by Dr. Francis. And in case you didn't even know, Dr. Francis got his own confessional last night. I was like, well, how long he gonna be around to be getting these confessionals? So we're back at Melody's event. You know, Martell brings the kids. He and Melody chat. You know, he gives her some googly eyes. She's smiling ear to ear. You know what I'm saying? He reveals in his confessional that he's a bit nervous, but the visit is actually very short. It didn't really go anywhere other than, oh, it was nice. You know, it was nice that you brought the kids. An effort is being made. Mom realizes that there's effort being made, and really at the end of the day, they hug it out after he's ready to leave, and that's about it for that scene. Okay. Now, up in Tennessee, Maurice and Kimmy arrive at the house where Dr. Francis is with his wife, Marlo. Okay. And maybe, Dr. Francis and his wife might be a better couple to have on the show versus the Whitlows. I know it kind of comes across maybe like I don't like the Whitlows. I don't have anything against them personally. I really don't. I'm just, as a viewer and as a person who has been on reality TV himself, so I know what it takes. Okay. I know what you have to give in a reality TV show for it to come across as authentic. And your castmates are continuously telling you that you're not authentic. So, yeah, that's that. But anyway, speaking of the Whitlows, they arrive. She's still on this baby kick via some kind of immaculate conception because she ain't got no time to be laying down with her husband. Anyway, they have to call Letitia and Marcel, who have a bunch of excuses about why they late initially. It was a mix-up with the nanny. It was a lot of traffic. The dog ate the homework. Somebody called me last minute. It was a whole lot of that. Anyway, Marceau is, when they do call him, Marceau is shocked that Dr. Francis is there. And I'm like, didn't you know he was going to be there? Like, what did you think you was coming into? Anyway, Dr. Francis reveals to the group that he is not there to fix them, but there to expose them to another way of thinking about who they are. So Tiffany, Miss Work It Boo, has to go take a phone call. She cannot be bothered with this conversation right now. She has got to go take a phone call, which she says was already scheduled. Now, here is my thing about this. I am the first to say I can acknowledge and understand what it means to have to go on a trip and have to work. There have been plenty of trips that I've gone on and I've worked, I've done videos, I have, had to have the hotel room to myself, so I could film or record or whatever like that. So I can understand that. But I think in this moment, there's a double-edged sword for Tiffany. Well, actually, triple-edged sword. One, she has committed to a couples retreat weekend. Two, she has committed to filming. Okay, so that's number two. Okay, and number three, it's not made clear whether or not she let Dr. Francis know before she got there that she would have to take a phone call. Because if she realized that she was going to have to take a phone call, it would have been better for she and Lewis to be late than for her to have to get up in the middle of a scene, okay, where a group is filming that you're also being paid for. It may not pay as much as your job. I don't really know what you get paid. But what I'm saying to you is you are in the middle of a scene. And how would we like it if, let's say, during the pillow talk scene on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, Nene had gotten a call from her agent and said, y'all, I'll be back. I got to go take this phone call. Y'all do what y'all got to do. Had that happened at the pillow talk party, the pillow talk party might not have been as epic as it was during the season had Nene not been in the room. Okay. Bottom line. So my point about this is when you have filming and you have other things on your work schedule, one of two things is going to have to, one of these things ain't going to be able to work. Okay. Those are the first two commitments that she's made. The next, okay, is really a kind of a commitment to her husband to also stick around at least to get enough information, and then have your downtime. When you have downtime in filming, schedule your calls. So I can see both sides of it. But my biggest point is, it's not clear to me whether or not she let Dr. Francis know that she was going to have to take a call initially or not. But again, better to be late, take that phone call in the car or whatever the case may be, than to do this. But you're going to have to pick one or the other, okay? And anyway, Dr. Francis is shocked and everybody's looking at her crazy like, girl, So Dr. Francis writes the word commitment on the board and basically tells Dr. Philosophy Lewis that, you know, she has competing interests, and that what she is communicating is that this right here, right now, is not as important. Okay. That's when we get Dr. Francis's first confessional. He says that you can't be in two places at one time. You can't have a you can't be in work mindset and also be in spouse mindset. Okay. All right. So Lewis, Dr. Philosophy, goes to check in on Miss Workaboo, and he lets her know that she's gonna have to have a conversation with Dr. Francis about her leaving. Okay. And then she diverts and she gets smart with him and she says, well, are there other Scots here? Okay. Basically, what she's trying to communicate is, well, everybody else is not here. So why is it important for me to even be here in the scene if everybody else is not here? Basically, number one, I'm not going to address what you just said. Number two, I'm going to give you a smart comment in rebuttal. And it seems to me like Tiffany does a whole lot of that little smart talk that then she will later claim she did not do, does not remember, or completely blacked out about. Diversions. Okay. Um, so Marceau and Letitia get in, and we learn that she has lost one of her good college girlfriends, or some type of friend or something like that from college. Um, he says that they need the distraction of being there at the house. So the next scene that we see is Martell picking up his mom, and he tells her about taking the kids to see Melody, even though he hadn't seen her in so long. Now, Miss Marlene always got a message. Miss Marlene always got a word. Okay. And she feels like she just don't want Mel to be disrespectful to him or to her. Okay. So the assumption is at this point in the episode that Melody has said something about Miss Marlene that might be making Miss Marlene feel a certain type of way. We will later learn where this came from, but just pay attention for right now because at this point in the episode, we don't really know. Okay. We don't, unless you remember it, because I did not. All right. And it probably happened on social media wherever Melody said what she said, but I don't know. She is open to, you know, seeing and speaking with Melody, and Martell feels like Melody and his mom need to have a sit down ponderosa face to face. Okay. Um, Back in Tennessee, Dr. Francis is not going to address Tisha and Marceau being late, but Tiffany, he is. Okay. He basically tells her, you left Lewis and he is choosing to protect you by making excuses for the fact that you have to work. Okay. And Dr. Francis calls it out. You are prioritizing your work over the needs of yourself and your husband. And it's just more excuses about her schedule and whatnot. And he says, you're going to schedule yourself right on up out of your marriage. Okay. Um, Low key, listen, I know this is going to sound kind of bad, but my thought is something ain't working, Tiffany, okay, in the marriage. You might want to be a bit more open to hearing what the good doctor has to say, because if someone else who has been married longer can offer you some words of wisdom when you yourself had admitted that you were in a space with your spouse, though you guys are trying to put up a united front in front of these people, you might want to just take a step back and listen and stop trying to be so smart about it. Everybody's got to work, everybody's got things to do. But when it's time to film, everybody knows that it's time to film. You running off and taking your phone calls is not what you're supposed to be doing right now. You have got to learn to either take better care of your priorities, your schedule, or you don't go on the trip. Okay. Dr. Francis to me was, I felt like he was calling them out with just due. Okay. Um, but Tiffany, is ride or die in this stance. She is going to die on this hill. She says she and Lewis are in unison about what was going to happen. So Kimmy has to call it out. Kimmy says, you have told her that there were some issues, okay, with time commitment with work. And Tiffany says, well, I'm 100% at work and 100% at home. And it's like, girl, what are you, 200%? Okay. When we're talking 100%, we're talking about a whole piece of a pie, right? Work can be a piece of your pie. Home can be a piece of your pie. But you ain't made up of two pies because you ain't two Tiffany's. Okay. So where is the 200% at? Where is the other 100%? Girl, step it back, okay? Reel it back in, because everybody is able to basically pick everything that they say apart because they leave themselves open. All right. Everybody is pretty shocked at how many excuses they have for making any changes. And Dr. Francis says you're only as strong as your last successful challenge in your marriage. So he has them tie their ankles together and has them walk around outside for like 10 minutes to see how they handle the struggles of their lives and who will be the leader in the situation. Now, Tisha and Marcel are the ones who actually come out of this little game on top because they're walking in unison. Tiffany just wants to be free from Lewis in this whole situation. She feels like she's being trapped. She wants him to pick her up. He picks her up, I think, at one point. I didn't see it, but he might have hoisted her. He might have lifted her up off the ground. I don't know. But the man just did whatever I feel like Dr. Francis is right. Lewis is just doing Mr. Do Right to get by. Okay. I'm just gonna do right to get by and keep this woman happy, because otherwise she is gonna smart talk me to death. Okay. And again, this is no shade to these people. I don't know what goes on in their real lives. I'm only telling you what I see on the screen. So Whitlow people, if y'all ever happen to catch this video, understand that I'm only judging you based off of what you are feeding us on the television screen. So I can either get full off the meal that you are serving, or I can still be hungry. And right now, I'm still hungry. Okay. So anyway, Dr. Francis notes that everything that Tiffany wanted him to do, he did, so as not to face any smoke from her later. Now, the next scene that we see, Kimmy and Maurice also have a hard time with this exercise. Let me speak on that for a second. I like Maurice. I do. I really do. But Maurice annoys me at times because Maurice, I think that Maurice thinks that puppy dog face and eyes will get him what he wants in his relationship with Kimmy. Okay. Because I feel like anytime an issue really comes up, I feel like he turns on the puppy dog face and eyes. She kind of gives in, but she then still has to politely check him when necessary. I also feel like there are a lot of times when he be joking about things that should be taken seriously. And to me, it comes across like, bruh, like you are with a sophisticated woman. These laughing bro jokes that you do all the time, maybe it's just for the TV. I don't know. Again, I can only go off what I see on the screen. I don't know what these people are like in their real lives. So people in your real life, if you watching this, don't be mad about it. But what I'm saying is, on the screen, he always joking about something that should really be taken seriously. Okay. It does, Kelly, it does come across like he's like a kid trying to be a grown man. And you are with a mature woman. You know what I'm saying? So to me, one of the things that he did was, and this is what I mean by like maturing. I'm not saying he's immature, but this is what I mean. Kimmy asked him Kimmy says, "Hey, babe, you're holding me too tight while we're doing the exercise." So versus just loosening his grip on her, he chooses to just let her go completely. It's like, okay, that's not what she asked you for. It's almost like getting an attitude because she asked for a little bit of space and breathing room. Just give her what she needs. Like, she's not asking to be free from you. She's just asking, hey, can you loosen up a bit so we can do this thing better? But it's like you're gonna go to the complete extreme with it. Like, it's just, I don't know. I just noticed that it happens a lot, and I just be like, that is so annoying, bro. Like, you too old for this, and you are way too accomplished to be acting like that. But that's just me. Anyway, Melody goes to visit Stormi, who is in her Zen room for a sound bath cleanse to cleanse their chakra. Okay. Melody recaps her event and Martell coming by, and Stormi really asks how things are with the moms, and we learned that Melody hasn't spoken to Martell's mom since 2021, and it hurts because of some of the comments that she made about Melody to Martell. I was wondering what those comments were, and I'm so glad they showed the flashback. In the flashback, they showed Martell talking to his mom about how much he used to work. And Martell's mom agreed that it used to annoy her that Martell would be working his fingers to the grind while, excuse me, Melody was allegedly just sitting around in the bed eating bonbons. Now, I said I added the bonbons part because it just sounds luxurious. Okay. She was sitting around eating the bonbons, just listing off things for Martell to do and bugging Martell to do all of these things. Now, the reason now that would bother me too, to be quite honest with you. I ain't gonna lie about it. Because the fact of the matter is, when you think about Team Melody and Martell and what we know to be true is, or at least what we perceive from the screen, allegedly, is that oftentimes it came across like Melody was kind of the brains and strategy and of the operation, okay? Or at least she was the one with the license, okay? I mean, let's just call a thing a thing. That's what we do know for a fact. We don't know what was really going on in the household, but we know for a fact it was Melody with the builder's license. So it was Melody that really held the true power when it came time to doing the building. Now, I ain't saying that Martell won't equally as much of a contributor, because I think that the man prides himself on doing the work and being able to execute, which I definitely believe that he did. But I feel like I understand why Melody might have felt some type of way, because Martell's mom may have made it seem that she was just sitting around eating bonbons, living in the lap of luxury, while this man was out there working like a Hebrew slave. He obviously won't working that much, just he obviously was not working that much. Okay. He was working, but he was also working. You know what I'm saying? Clearly, he was working it somewhere. All right. Period. He was working it somewhere. So I guess, to me, I think that Melody probably felt like that was a really big dig to her, because they really did seem like a team. And I think that they probably had a well-oiled machine wherein she was able to get the business because of her license. He was able to do the work, and they had things run like a well-oiled machine. But to be fair, he could have been communicating to his mom that that is what was happening, and therefore that is what she believed. So there's also that. Okay. So, because we don't know what he told his mom. And that also could have been his perception of Mel as well, because I feel like we have heard him allude to those things before. All right. So, um, we just don't know what really happened. But all we do know is that they showed the flashback of Miss Marlene saying that. Now, I do love me some Miss Marlene. So I hope they can work that out. All right. Miss Marlene got a word for you. And I feel like she is such a positive, spirited woman. Um, and she loved her son. So obviously she gonna stick beside him. Anyway, everybody's getting ready for dinner. Marceau didn't think that this was going to be a couple's counseling trip. He thought it was going to be a couple's trip. Kimmy and Maurice debate about what happens when she takes the lead. And again, this is when we get into this idea that she just simply wanted him to loosen his grip and that he went to the extreme of letting her go. And again, this is one of those conversations where it feels like she's trying to have a mature conversation and he's just ready to joke and laugh about it and sort of in doing so, it kind of diminishes what she's saying a bit. I don't know. And that's also true. What we do know is that Mel carried and gave birth to 4 babies. Okay. Boom. All right. Alabama born Ball says, I love my son, but I'm gonna hold him accountable when he's wrong. Hmm. I think that's also the thing too. Is like that's just his mom, and I don't think she's gonna want to. She probably feels like she needs to be in defense mode for him because she may feel like everybody else is against him. So I think she probably feels like she got to stand in his corner in this situation. I don't really know. All right. So it's time for dinner. They recap, in Tennessee. They recap what their, how the day went. And so the kids' conversation comes up again. Oh, Tiffany, Lord, sometimes I wish she would just let this thing go. She reveals she wants to have a baby because she loves being a mom. I think that's great. But is Lewis on board with that? Dr. Francis wonders if, as a result of all of Tiffany's losses, growing up in foster care and then getting divorced, if that has affected her and the way they distance themselves from either other people or each other. They're both actually in tears as Dr. Francis talks about what having a baby would mean for two people who have experienced so many huge losses, and that having a child would give them the assurance that they don't have to go through life alone. And that that the child will never leave you. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, don't they both have children already? So am I confused? Because I thought they both had kids. Am I wrong? Am I wrong about that? Do Lewis and Whit and Tiffany have kids of their own? I felt like they do have kids. Somebody let me know in the chat. This is a new idea for Tiffany though. Yeah, that's what I thought. They have kids. So I'm like, y'all got kids already, so we've kind of already this problem's already kind of solved a little bit. But anyway, okay. All of this is new ideas for Tiffany because she's had a feeling that's been similar to the way he described it. But sometimes hearing somebody else say what you are experiencing and putting a name to it kind of helps you realize maybe what you have been doing all of this time is that, right? So that's a great thing about going to therapy. And I feel like maybe Tiffany and Lewis should spend a bit more time in individual and collective therapy. And I feel like, because even in this episode, we got a very interesting look at them as they were trying to give us nothing. They actually gave us a whole lot. Okay. So you can sort of get an idea of who they are just by their level of defensiveness and the circuitous way that Lewis would try to answer questions, being Dr. Philosophy and things. So anyway, Marceau asked, "Well, Tiffany, what would you do with your businesses if you're so busy right now, and you bring a baby into it?" Which I think is a fair question. And she says, "Well, I function well in chaos." And so his response is, "So you want to bring a baby into chaos?" Now, what I also can say is that every person, I'm sure, that has a child, even though I don't have one, um, it seems to me, and maybe you guys can ask, sometimes when you end up expecting a child, it's not at the most ideal seeming time in your life, but people tend to make it work, right? Because you may not have been expecting it, or something might have just happened. I mean, a good night turned into 18 years. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing wrong with it. So I know that people can raise kids in a space where they are really, really busy or have a lot going on, and they can raise them successfully. But for two people who have already had kids and who seem to be, or at least one of them seems to be, overly committed to her work, it seems odd that she is the one that wants to then throw a baby into the mix. You know what I'm saying? It just seems weird. I don't know. Cheryl says Marceau is the last person to speak on children. Ooh, did he say that? When did he say that? Well, the goal is to interview Marceau at some point in the season. I kind of wanted to. I have several interviews. I have three more interviews that will come out this coming week. Actually, four, I think. Four more interviews that will come out this coming week. And I can tell you one of them is with Kimmy. But when I do schedule with Marceau, we'll be able to ask him all those questions. Okay. Because he think we scared. And I'm like, scared of what? I mean, we want to ask you as many questions as possible, because I'm like, the squad has questions for you, my brother. Okay. And it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And we're gonna have a good time doing it. You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't have any plans to. Um, you know what's funny? Let me just interject real quick. Well, listen. I mean, sometimes that just be it. You know what I'm saying? A good night turned into 18 years, baby. I mean, listen. I ain't mad at it. I'm not mad at it. Right. I was like, who's scared? I think Marceau is funny to me. Marceau is funny. He is interesting. He is, polarizing. So I think he's always right? Heck no. But I do feel like he's fascinating enough for me to want to ask him questions. So that's kind of why I do interviews. One, I want to do it to celebrate the show. That's number one, because I feel like I want to highlight these shows as much as possible. Two, I always like to do it because sometimes I have questions and I know y'all got questions, and it would help if those questions could be answered. And three, I just have a genuine curiosity about the person and what they do. And and I think that, again, Marceau is made for television. He's great TV. Right. We just got some questions. All right. So anyway, um, we get into this other conversation about whether or not Lewis is an expert philosopher, because he answers questions in a way that really turns the question around into something that is very much a non-answer. And so Dr. Francis is like, you like philosophy, don't you? And yes, we learned that Lewis has read some books about it. Okay. He's got a couple of books on philosophy. Ergo, he's a philosopher. Okay. And so he says that at some point, the student becomes the teacher. So he feels as though he is somehow teaching Tiffany. Okay. And she wonders, well, what are you teaching? All right. Because I am too busy working to learn anything from you. All right. And so Dr. Francis then calls it that Lewis poses a lot of existential responses and questions to avoid being transparent. I said, Dr. Francis, you are on one today. Dr. Francis said, all gas, no brakes. I'm keeping my foot on y'all neck until y'all become better reality TV personalities and participants. Okay. Y'all are going to leave here changed. Okay. Changed. And Kimmy has to call it out as well. Why are y'all so resistant to giving advice, but you are so willing to receive it? It's like you guys just make up excuses about everything that people, come at you guys with. But y'all can call out everybody else's marriages and comment about it and whatnot when y'all are not being very transparent about who you actually are and what is actually going on in your household. Period. At the end of the day, Dr. Francis lets them know this. Tiffany and and Lewis, everything is not as perfect as the front that you are trying to put up. Baby, Dr. Francis read them for the filthy, okay? Read them for the filthy. Read them. Read them down. Down. Okay? And I was honestly here for it. I do think that this experience with Dr. Francis will make them better reality TV show personalities because it will force them to dig deeper than what they're actually giving. They think that they given, but they really ain't giving what was supposed to be gave, right? Okay. It was like going to the Sheba Charade website and seeing some wrinkled t-shirts. Okay. Well, my expectation was what I saw on the runway. That's what they give. They're giving us wrinkled t-shirt reality TV when I was expecting designer couture. Okay. The very last thing that Lewis asks is this. So are you saying that our marriage is phony? No one answers that question, but essentially, yeah. It's phony on TV, okay? That's all I know. I don't know what y'all doing. I mean, because listen, I think that whatever system they got going on, I think it works for them. So I can't judge them and how they run their private life. What I can judge is what I see on TV. And again, on TV, it's giving wrinkled t-shirt. Okay. It's giving bargain bin. All right. But my expectation is Saks Fifth Avenue. But what you giving me is Kanye clothes in a trash bag. I need my clothes pressed when I buy them. Okay. So when y'all can give us that, until that happens, learn from this. Okay. Allow Dr. Francis to do the work to get y'all in a better space because we, as the viewers, want y'all to be as good as y'all can possibly be on this show so y'all can give us what we so richly deserve, that which the other cast members are able to give us. The 6 people on this side of the screen give it all, okay? Now, they may not give everything, okay? But they give us enough to see that they situations that they go through be real, right? Okay. Stop giving us wrinkled t-shirt. Um Toya says that's why I call them the Whitlows. What? Like, what y'all gonna give us? Okay. Um, Thank you for the super chat. And the crazy thing about it is I do think that they think that they're giving, but I don't think that they can see themselves for what we see. And viewers who watch reality TV, we have been watching long enough to be able to tell when you are giving us wrinkled t-shirt tees, okay, when we want designer couture. That is the message for today. Okay. Now, with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in, tapping in, and being turned on to the Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 5, Episode 1 premiere, as it states on the website. With that being said, any more news that comes out today, might drop another video. Not quite sure. Got some work around the house to do, but y'all know that I love y'all. Stay safe out there, and I will catch you guys in the next video.